Mr. Gaurav, can we start now?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Thank you. So, good afternoon, friends, and welcome back to this important lecture series of Indian Council of Agriculture Research, which is ICAR 75 lecture series. As you know, this lecture series is one of the activities which we have started for celebrating the very proud moment for every Indian, and that is to celebrate the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. That is to celebrate the India's glorious 75 years, which we are going to complete on 15th August 2022. Mr. Gaurav, in this series, we have completed 67 lectures by eminent personalities on various topics, and today we have the 68th lecture in this series, which will be given by Mr. Gaurav Somansi. Friends, as you are aware, these lectures are now widely accepted. For example, the last lecture which we conducted of Daji on a very important topic, which was Krishi becoming Rishi, has been seen by 15,000 viewers. I could see. And similarly, many other lectures, and they are widely circulated and becomes a course material for our students as a future reference. And this lecture is attended by our vice chancellors, by our senior faculty, by senior officers from Indian Council of Agriculture Research, our deputy director generals, and many more. We live stream this lecture, and we also have 2-3 platforms through which people see this important lecture. Friends, today's lecture is very important in the same series. Today is the 68th lecture on a topic called blockchain technology, concept and use cases. Very important topic, a new topic, a very relevant topic for every researcher in the field of agriculture, because this is the need of the hour to have this blockchain technology to help our farmers, to help our agriculture system. If you are given some time, I can just take a few minutes to introduce Mr. Gaurav Somansi, who is a very renowned figure and well-known personality in the field of blockchain technology, a pioneer worker, I can say. So first of all, let me thank you, Mr. Gaurav, for accepting our invitation and to join this platform to interact with our faculty, with our vice chancellors, directors, and many more persons who are very keen to know about this blockchain technology. Friends, Mr. Somansi is the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Amartech Innovations Private Limited, which is incubated at IIT Mumbai. Their current project focuses on implementing end-to-end blockchain solutions for India's largest farmer collective, with over 13,000 farmers using it on daily basis. This project is winner of India government's Grant Traceability Challenge and also won first prize among 20 startups in an Indo-Swiss collaborative competition held at Zurich in year 2020. Mr. Gaurav has completed postgraduate from Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow, and graduation as computer science engineer from Government College, Aurangabad. During 2017 to 19, he has worked extensively with state of Chhattisgarh in collaboration with many international blockchain experts to conduct the state's first pilot using the blockchain for e-governance. He has conducted blockchain workshops in UK, Europe, US, and in many prestigious countries and places like Mississippi Coding Academy. He was selected to conduct a blockchain ground report by Swiss Art Council in Switzerland in February 2020. He is also associate editor at Frontiers in Blockchain Journal. His work has been widely recognized, and I want to congratulate Mr. Gaurav to you for that. I'll just read a few of the recognitions. He has been designated as a future leader by British Council to present his work and idea at UK Parliament and University of Cambridge. He was invited at Prime Minister US residence for the discussion. A very proud moment and very good recognition. He was selected as Dalai Lama Fellow in 2019, a fellowship which cultivates and supports a global movement of next generation leaders applying universal values to solve global challenges, leadership, training at University of Virginia, USA. He was recognized as Fellow of Royal Academy of Engineers in UK during year 2018. He was the speaker at London Source Summit on blockchain for public good. And he's a member of Africa Blockchain Alliance to collaborate and exchange ideas for implementing blockchain for public sector. Lastly, there are many recognitions, but I just want to say the last recognition, because paucity of time, he was awarded also the Youth of the Year 2019 at Shahu International Film Festival and National Film Archive of India and Pune for his overall work. So hearty congratulations to you for this great recognition, Mr. Gaurav. And the platform is yours. You can please apprise all of us about your work, about the issues in this blockchain technologies and how best our students, our faculty can take it forward in our agricultural education system. So thank you, Mr. Gaurav. And floor is yours now, please.
Thank you so much for this honor, because to be enlisted among the other names that we couldn't saw, the people who have given this lecture series, it's frankly speaking, it's really a one of the largest honors that I've ever received. So first of all, thank you everyone for this. Uh, I'll get right to the point, which is blockchain. Now, imagine that this is 1990s and we are talking about what internet is. There is only to a certain limit where I, as a technology expert, could explain to you in 1990s. What and one more thing, if there is any lag from my end, please let me know whenever it happens, because because of the weather, the Wi-Fi is having some issues. Yes. So if this was 1992 and we were having this lecture, and let us say you are, I mean, you already are experts from the agriculture field, I could only tell you what internet does and some basic pilots and what could be its reach and just paint a whole picture. But the real revolution in internet happened because the domain experts came and they used internet for their own purposes. For example, Jeff Bezos thought, why not sell books using internet? And that is how you got Amazon. uh, Google was released just because people felt we need a good searching engine, because now there will be too many pages. So technology is just like a hotel menu card. Beyond that, it is nothing more. And all that really matters is how much the domain experts understand the technology so that they can ask people like us to come and work for you. And that is the only way revolution happens. Revolution does not happen through technology, it happens through domain experts who understand technology, right? So, with that, I'd love to begin the sharing session. I'll just share my screen now. Just if anyone can just let me know if my screen is visible.
Yes, it is visible, please.
Okay, thank you. So we'll begin with, I always love to begin with the 6 laws of technology. Now, when I say technology, it means any technology, not just IT, but any kind of technology. So the first and the last law is what we'll focus at. Technology is neither good nor bad, nor is it neutral. Now, when we say nor is it neutral, it means that technology will always take sides. It will either make the powerful more powerful, which is in 99% of the cases, or it will help in more democratization of power and resources so that we live to a more fair equity future. And the last part, technology is a very human activity, and so is the history of technology. So we will briefly cover that as well. Just to give an example, 1934 was when we discovered nuclear energy. In 1945, the first use case was actually a nuclear bomb. And 1951 was when we felt, okay, maybe we can use this not just for killing millions of people, maybe we can harness some good energy out of it. So blockchain is like that. So do not confuse blockchain with any its use cases. Bitcoin, crypto, tokens, all of these are different uses of blockchain, like nuclear energy, nuclear bomb. But the core fission part, like what is the atom, that is what we'll try to understand over here. I'll just skip through these parts because sir has already covered it. Over here, the government of these are the different implementations happening within the government, the different states. And over the Chhattisgarh one was where I had worked, creating proof of concept for identity management. Uh, I'm not sure how many people are Marathi. I'm also translating it in English, but the entire book is written on beginning writing right from 14th century onwards till blockchain. Yeah, I just want to cover the main points really well. That's why you might feel that I might skip some slides. So what we are going through is an opportunity which was simply not present before. Before internet, did you have an option of instant data sharing, of communication, or even this video call, the video lecture that you are having right now? Of course not. So similarly, some new properties are being introduced by blockchain which were not possible before it. That is the crux of the matter, right? Now, very briefly, I don't endorse crypto or Bitcoin, but the thing is that is how it all began. That is why if you don't understand the history, the concepts, opinions will come later. First, we'll try to understand exactly what it is so that we can apply our own minds to see how we can refurbish it for our own purposes, right? Now, there are different ways to understand. The first and the most simple way to understand is I love to explain with an analogy. So imagine at the most high, we'll compare a phone and a blockchain. At the highest level of abstraction, you just have a phone network. Within that, you have SIM cards, people, and mobile phones, bandwidth, so on and everything. There is nothing specific. It's just a concept. Similarly, blockchain is also an abstraction. Even before it becomes a technology, it is just an abstraction. Now, let us go one level deeper. Let us talk about a specific phone network. Let's say I'm saying Vodafone. The moment I use the word Vodafone, now I'm talking about a specific geography, region, people, and customization, and so on. Similarly, there is one way of saying that Bitcoin is a currency is different and Bitcoin is a blockchain. The moment I say Bitcoin protocol, it means the Bitcoin blockchain. It's a specific type of one of the many thousands and thousands of blockchain. It's customized to a certain extent. But does it become a currency right away? Of course not. Again, go back to the phone example. Now I can use Vodafone for many purposes. I can use Vodafone for calling someone, SMS, WhatsApp. But let us say I say that I'm going to use Vodafone only and only for calling and no other purpose. That is when, similarly, I'm saying that this Bitcoin protocol, people are collectively deciding it's a human decision to use it as a currency. That is what makes it a currency. Or you could use Bitcoin protocol for tracking diamonds also, which we'll see later on. So the decision is what makes it a currency. The technology is just a way of how different data is stored. So that is the difference primarily. Now we will slightly have a detour in history. Now blockchain as a technology, people feel that it is the most state of the art in computer science. It is, but it has nothing to do with computer science when it comes to the history. Historically, it has everything to do only and only with accounting. Now, of course, sorry for the image because accounting might be really interesting for other people also. But let us talk about what is the simplest form of accounting. The simplest form of accounting is single entry accounting. So the earliest example of single entry accounting goes back 5,000 years. So very short, it is not at all different from, during our childhood when our parents used to give us a small piece of paper and with line items regarding what items to bring from a grocery. That piece of paper is single entry accounting. There's nothing complex about it. But if it seems too simple, please understand that until 14th century, all the wars that were fought, all the pyramids, forts that were built, this was the only way of actually keeping a tab on it. Then something happened in 14th century, 14th to 15th century. This person came into the picture. Now, most people don't know this person, and even I didn't until I started understanding the history of it. We all have heard of Leonardo da Vinci. So Leonardo da Vinci, his mathematics teacher is Father Licopaccioli. He is the mathematics teacher who taught him. So Father Licopaccioli felt a very simple thing. He realized that if everyone is maintaining single entry accounting, it is going to get so complex to do trade. How will you have barter? There should be some way to at least keep a record of your assets and liabilities. In fact, the word credit, debit, expenses liabilities and expendables, all of a balance sheet, for example, these are the entire system was introduced by Father Luca Pacioli. And what it is called? It's called double entry bookkeeping. Wherever you are debiting an account, you credit an account, and hence you are balancing everything. Hence, it's a balance sheet. This is the people who have started doing balance sheets. For example, in Italy, on the banks of rivers, there were benches. On these benches, people used to sit, and they were middlemen, basically community of Ashkenazi Jews, who decided that we are going to make ourselves prosper by just doing this work, by maintaining other people's double entry accounting, so that trade could be facilitated. So as this community of Ashkenazi Jews used to sit on benches, people used to come to them to do trade, to manage their books and their accounting, and they used to get a small commission for it. Then they started lending also, and started gaining an interest on it. Slowly, the benches on which these people used to sit became buildings, buildings became organizations, but the name is the same. The Italian word for bench is banca, and hence the name for the word is banks. So banks is what they do with double entry bookkeeping with the added flavor of lending added to it. But what happened? There was a small problem. Small problem in the sense you must have heard what Enron did or Satyam did, all of these big scams. How did these big scams happen? I just cook up my profits and I misled the investors by saying that I have so much amount of money. And that is what people did not like. So there was an idea which came even before the internet. In 1989, the youngest chartered accountant of Japan, Yuri Ijiri, he said, what if instead of everyone maintaining their own separate double books, Lal Kitab and all, what if there is, just imagine, it's a thought experiment that he did, that there is a layer of platform which envelops the entire earth, and there is only one property to it. The property is that once data goes into it, you can change or delete it. That is the only property. And what if everyone is doing their bookkeeping into this common layer? So I, as a company, will I ever be able to do any fraud? Because all of my entries are linked with everyone else's entries. Even if I'm doing cash transactions, my record keeping has to be in line with everyone else's entries because that record book, that layer is common. And that is the first word for blockchain. Although the word blockchain came in 2008 as an idea, it first came into existence in 1989. That what if there's a platform in which once data goes, you can't change or delete that data, and you don't need to trust any third person to have that uh, trust over it. Now, fast forward to 2008, there was an economic depression. And since 1992, there was a movement called cypherpunk movement. And cypherpunk movement gave the world two superstars. One of them is Satoshi Nakamoto, the person who gave us the words Bitcoin, blockchain, and the technology. And that person is anonymous. We don't even know whether it's the gender of the person, nationality, ethnicity, or whether even it's a single person or a group of persons. We have no idea. But still, that name is famous, Satoshi Nakamoto. And the another person who became a superstar of the cypherpunk movement was Julian Assange of WikiLeaks. In fact, Julian Assange even wrote an entire book in 2012 on it. Now, cypherpunk movement began in 1992 with the thought that if internet is going to become very big, then if we don't have proper cryptographic protocols in place, then our privacy will be breached. The big companies or the governments will be able to access all of our private messages, all of our private data, manipulate us through that. So how can we ensure that? So quite a lot of contribution when it comes to if your passwords are safe today, or if you have any kind of privacy, we have a lot of that debt to the cypherpunk movement. Now, within that cypherpunk movement, there was a community who felt, wait, why even have, because there was a continuous cyclical depressions which were happening in US, and that was happening because banks were giving money to bad, or you could say completely irresponsible people, but the banks were not giving their own money. The banks were giving money away of the people. So, and there was no transparency regarding where this money goes. And then this idea came from the cypherpunk movement. Can we just have a currency with complete transparency and no dependency on any third party? And that is what gave birth to this paper. It is hardly 15, 16 pages of paper. It came out in August 2008. The words Bitcoin and blockchain have been used for the first time ever in this paper by Satoshi Nakamoto. And 2008, the economy went down. People lost faith in Wall Street and the banks. 2008, this paper comes. side by side, and suddenly people have an alternative, and that is why it got a boost, because that history is important. Why Bitcoin? There were attempts to do something like Bitcoin since 1992. There was BitGold, there was Hashcash, there was DigiCash. There are at least a dozen similar attempts. It is not something new. People have been trying to do it. It is just that Bitcoin came up with a new technology called blockchain to do that. Now, just notice the title, peer-to-peer cash system. If I'm sending you a song by Bluetooth, that is peer-to-peer. My mobile is sending directly to your mobile without any third-party server. Here, peer-to-peer cash means what? You are bypassing everything. You are bypassing borders, governments, banks, courts, everything. You are making cash democratic. Another way to understand is, if internet is a country, let us say just like India, Australia, US, these are countries. Imagine for a second, if internet is a country, then that country has everything except its own currency. So that is what it also is. But internet does not have a government, internet does not have a leader, internet does not have anything. So that's why it's peer-to-peer. Internet is mostly peer-to-peer. Hence, a peer-to-peer cash system means a currency for the internet. That is the extent of the revolutionary ambition that these people had. And just to kind of explain, it gave birth to a phenomena called Bitcoin millionaires, because then people suddenly jumped into Bitcoin so much that without understanding why, even to get a investment into it or what does it do, people just wanted to become rich. For example, I met Mr. Bhandari. He was hardly 11, 12 years old when by mistake he bought Bitcoins. And suddenly after 5 years, he was worth, he was just a millionaire. And this phenomena is actually what misleads us regarding what blockchain is supposed to do. Because this has nothing to do with blockchain. It is entirely market sentiments, nothing to do with technology. Now we will go another way to understand is the technical way. Right now, I will require your attention for the next 15 minutes in such a way that we will encounter one problem, one solution, one problem, one solution. We will combine those four solutions, and then you will have Bitcoin in front of you. Now, there are no metaphors, analogies, all of that is out of the way. Now we are deep diving into technology, but we will try to make the problem solvable. Now, how many people are there on Earth? 7, 8 billion people. As if all of them are in internet, then all of them should have their own currency. Their own currency, I mean, to some common currency. If that is your ambition, let us try to make it smaller. Let us say, can we have a technology just between four people? Alice, Bob, Charlie, and Dylan. In computer science, we use them as ABCD. Hence, Alice, Bob, Charlie, Dylan. Imagine, can we have a completely autonomous system between these four people using technology? If it works for four people, it will work for 7.5 and 8 billion people also. That is the assumption. Now, imagine Alice, Bob, Charlie, and Dylan got admission in a college, but they did not get the hostel. So now they are living in a flat. And when they are living in a flat, they are strangers. When I say strangers, it means that you don't have any reason to trust each other. But at the same time, you have to do daily transactions, maid bill, electricity bill, groceries bill, and so on. And they want to make it more streamlined. How do I make these different expenses more streamlined? That is the problem statement. Now let us begin with the first solution. The first solution is at least something, the record has to be kept. So they decided that the first concept is a ledger. A ledger is a fancy word for a database, nothing more. Now they say that let us have a ledger in which we are just going to keep our records. Just one more thing. What happens is in any field, the more and more technology, some words become popular. The experts within the field come up with new jargon so that their expertise remains untouched. So the new word for blockchain technology is now distributed decentralized ledger. That is what now everyone calls it. So I'll just cover it with just 1 second. I'll just take a pause from this example. Blockchain is also called distributed decentralized ledger. Distributed means something which is present in physically multiple locations at the same time, nothing more than that. Decentralized means there is not a single person or authority or group of people who control what happens. Everything happens in a democratic way. And ledger, as I said, is just a database. Decentralized distributed ledger. That's the other word for blockchain. Getting back to the example. So the problem statement is, how do we keep a record of our monthly kharcha pani? So how do they start? They said that first we will need a common portal on which we'll make our entry. So how does it look like? It looks like Alice pays Bob 100 rupees, Bob pays Charlie 40 rupees, and so on. Now we will assume the existence of mistakes or mischief. Let us say Charlie is a very mischievous person. Now what Charlie will do? Charlie will start putting in random entries that Alice paid Bob 5 lakh rupees. Charlie paid Dylan 2 rupees. Any random entries. How do we stop that? The second solution that we will use is something that most of us are familiar with: digital signature. Digital signature, you must have already seen, you must have already owning it also. The only difference between a digital signature and a physical signature is that a physical signature only validates the identity of the person. A digital signature validates the identity plus the content at which point in time it was signed. That is also authenticated. If there is any change in the content after it is digitally signed, that digital signature doesn't hold true. Give a simple example. You must have seen Bollywood movies in which the father says that because his daughter is marrying a poor person, he says that ye blank check le lo, take this blank check and go away. Now, you can't sign a blank check digitally. You can only sign it physically. Why? Because that blank is also getting authenticated by the digital signature. After that, if anyone tries to put in any number on it, that number is not valid because the digital signature is now corrupted. So the second concept that they use is every entry that you see over here in front of you, Alice pays of 100 rupees, everyone has to digitally sign it by their own digital key. Now that actually solves the problem of putting random entries. No one can put other wrong entries. But Charlie is very mischievous. What Charlie does, now look at the first line: Alice pays Bob 100 rupees. Earlier it was not digitally signed, now it is digitally signed. What Charlie does is he takes the entire digitally signed message, copy pastes it, because a copy of a valid message is also a valid message. You can copy paste valid message as many number of times. So Charlie pasted 20 times. How do we stop that from happening? So the third concept is very much simple. We just add a serial number to every transaction. So just by adding a serial number, now notice we have only added a serial number over here. What we have done is we have made, now we are going to sign the entire line, one dot Alice pays of 100 rupees. If someone tries to make a copy of it, the serial number will also be copied, and it will not make any sense because serial number by definition have to be unique, and that is how you catch the fraud, right? Now the fourth problem is Charlie is, as I said, very mischievous. Charlie says that I don't want to give any money. देना ही नहीं मुझे पैसे at the end of the month. Now it's a very physical problem. It's nothing to do with technology. So how do you solve it? Charlie, because on the technology it says that Charlie is supposed to pay at the end of the month 500 rupees. How do we actually solve that? So that is simply done by putting some money at the beginning of the pot. So whenever you're beginning the month, you have to put the money in a common pot, and the ledger will keep a track of. It's like a prepaid mobile, nothing more. It's like a bank only. You can't withdraw more money than you already have. Similarly, you can't make entries into this common ledger more than you have already earned. Now, before we go into the blockchain part of it, just conceptually, I wanted to just pause and imagine for a while. That imagine instead of this four people are having this ledger, let us say all the people on this planet have a smartphone. And let us say that everyone is maintaining their account into a common ledger. So what will happen is on first I will get a salary. So I will not get any cash. Let us say only my account is going up. I go to buy vegetables. My account will go down, and the vegetable seller's account will go up. And similarly, that is the only thing that will happen. If this is the case, do you ever need to print any money? Because that is what money is. It's a symbol for a value, which is also what is written on your notes. कि मैं धारक को इतना रुपीस देने का वादा करता हूँ. It's a promissory note. It's a promise, and that promise is with respect to a certain value, and that value is not generated by something in its backing, but basically by the entire economy and the supply and demand against which the currency stands. But that is all it is. So first we understand currency. Now we will go do a very deep dive into the technology. अभी थोड़ा सा simple वाले concepts will tackle. We all know, before we understand what is SHA-256, it might look very fancy. It just means secure hashing algorithm, 256 bits, nothing more. Now, before we go into hashing, what we'll go understand encryption. Encryption, everyone must have heard it. Now, encryption का opposite word क्या है? What is the opposite word for encryption? Decryption. Because you can unlock the message and you can lock the message. The moment you lock the message, it looks like garbage, and only the person with the key can unlock it and see it. There is hashing is only a one-way street. You cannot have a dehashing. Once something is hashed, it only you can only remain hashed. There is no going back. So why it is even used? Actually, this is what hashing looks like. And this is the fundamental aspect of blockchain. Hashing is the technology on which the entire blockchains are built. Now, this is the input, Sanya. Hashing is nothing more than an algorithm. Once I put that in an algorithm, an hashing algorithm, I will get a certain output. Can you see the output? C7549. It's random. It has a fixed length, but when I say random, it means that for Sanya, it will always give in lowercase, it will always give this particular output. Now look at Sanya in capital. I have only changed the caps lock and immediately the hash output has changed. Now I'm keeping only first look at the last row. Only the S is capital. Immediately everything is changed. So what are the properties that I want you to remember? The property is you can if I only give you the hash and I don't give you the input, there is no way to go back. Then why do we even use it? What is the use of this? Any good web developer, any good computer developer, if they are creating a website or a portal and there is a login for it for users, everyone's passwords are only stored in the hashed format. Mark Zuckerberg can't see your password. Google can't see your password. Your online banking can't see your password because they're only storing the hash of the password. Now imagine when you're doing online net banking, browser pay on the browser, you just put your password, right? Let us say it is 10 characters. It looks like star 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 asterisks. The moment you click on enter, suddenly it becomes very big. What happens when it becomes big? Your browser is converting into a hash. The hash is getting matched. Because if I am a developer and I can see your password, then I can hack you. But as a developer, I can only see the hashes, and the hash is what gets matched. The only way to figure out what is the input is you have to begin with every input in the world 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, A, B, C, D. And when you arrive after millions and millions of tries at Sanya, Sanya, lowercase, this is and the hash output matches, then you will know okay, this is the input. Very fundamental property. That's why I'm spending time on this. Now we are going to solve a puzzle. This is called an hashing puzzle, and I'll tell you its purpose. This puzzle is being played every 10 minutes since 3rd January 2009. Since this session began, I want to call it a lecture because all of you are much more qualified and better than me. So it's just a sharing session. Since this sharing session has begun, already this puzzle has been played 3-4 times because it is played every 10 minutes non-stop. That is the only way Bitcoin actually are getting generated. What happens? What is the puzzle? Let the puzzle is I am going to give you content one and content two. I am the puzzle master. All of you who are watching this sharing session, you are just the players, and I am the puzzle master. And I am saying that I want a hash output in such a way that the first four digits should be zero. I don't care what the other digits are. For example, over here, instead of the look at the first row, instead of C754, I want 000. I don't care what the rest of it is. But then your first question should be every input has a fixed output. Fixed output in the sense that is the only output that will come again. So how can I have a customized output or if I'm the one who is giving input? So here the answer is you can add your own input to it. So even though I'm giving you content one and content two, all of you who are playing the puzzle, you get your own number, nonce number it is called. What is the nonce number? Nonce number is just 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You try it every time. You take content one, content two, you attach zero to it, and then you do put it through algorithm. You see whether the first four digits of the hash output are zero or not. If not, you try with 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. The moment one of you gets a number which when attached to the content which I have given you in and the first four digits looks like zero, that is when you win the game. Just remember this. Now keep it in your mind aside. Now what we are going to do is we are directly going to draw blocks and chains. In fact, the original word was never blockchain. The person who actually gave blockchain to us used it as two separate words, block space chain. It was the other people who came later, like me, who made it into a fancy thing. Okay, just a sec. Just we are going to combine what you have already learned, nothing more. The first concept that we are going to use is serial number, block number one. In Bitcoin, the serial number is time, at what time those things happen, because time also acts like a unique serial key, right? But let us call it block number one. Then what happens every 10 minutes, no matter what transactions are happening in the play in the world, ऑस्ट्रेलिया से लेके जापान तक 5 बिटकॉइन गए, इंडिया से लेके स्विट्जरलैंड तक 10 बिटकॉइन गए. All of this data, this is the data which you don't control. This is the data which is happening in any case, how the transactions should be happening. All of these transactions which are happening since the 10 minutes are collected together. One more data is added to it, which in this case is blank because this is the first block, which is we call previous hash. This is the genesis block, the first block. Now what happens is everyone in the world, this is your content 1, content 2, content 3. Now everyone in the world tries to find out what is the number which when added to the above content, and once we do hash of it, we will get the first 4 digits at 0. Let us say some computer finds the number. Now this is the number 76547. Why is this number special? Because this number, when attached to all the data, gives you an output in which the first 4 digits are 0. Now I'm not writing all the 256 digits. I'm only writing the first 4. This is a bit like playing Sudoku or crossword. In Sudoku is very difficult to play, but once someone has actually solved it, it is very easy to verify. Similarly, once someone has found out the nonce number, uh, computationally speaking, they will raise their hand, and the moment 51% people check it and say yes, actually this person has actually found out the right number, he is right, and then that is how, that is the first moment when everyone takes that nonce number, accepts it, and creates a block. It is not a chain yet, it is only a block. The moment a block is created, the person who has found the nonce number will be rewarded in bitcoins. Where will these bitcoins come from? So the total number of bitcoins in the world is 2.1 crore, 21 million, and it is kept in a mathematical mountain. No one owns that mountain, it's just an algorithm. And from that mountain, the people will get a reward. Hence the word mining. This process is called mining because I am digging from a mathematical mountain. Now what will happen? Now there will be next 10 minutes. In the next 10 minutes, there will be a new time or a block number. There will be new transactions happening all over the world. But now what I will do is I will take the output of the previous block as an input for the current block. And this entire data will be broadcasted throughout. The moment it is broadcasted, everyone is trying to find out what is the nonce number, what is the nonce number. Someone finds out the nonce number. They raise their hand. And now I have a block hash. And this is the first blockchain. Similarly, repeating over here. Why to have this? What is the purpose of this? So imagine that this is not block number 123. Imagine this is block number 501, 502, 503, and it goes till 2000. Now, if any person comes in the middle block and they try to delete that data, A paid C 60, let us say someone tries to change it, edit it, or delete it. The moment any tampering happens, that nonce number below it, 123433347, becomes meaningless because the block hash will immediately change the moment I'm changing the data. Immediately, the next block will also change because I'm using the output of the previous block as input for the next block. Immediately, next will also change. And then the whole chain, all the blocks from block number 2000 till block number 503 will point out to block number 502 that there is some tampering over here. And immediately it will reverse back. It will not accept the hack and it will mathematically heal itself. And that is the whole concept of it. Now, this blockchain, today it is so verified. There are so many variants of it, but the fundamental remains the same. There might not be even nonce numbers in some cases. There might not be mining in some cases. But the fundamental aspect is if data is mathematically stored in such a format that changing it becomes impossible, then what can you do on top of it? And that now we'll jump to the use cases soon. This is an image taken from textbooks, but I realize that the textbook image doesn't make any sense, even if I understand blockchain, it is very difficult to understand that. So just to put in, and this is the image that I had done as a comparison. Now, what happened in 2012 and 11, people realized, wait a minute, this is just a way of building trust. Now, what if we take the same technology and pull it in different ways? Let us say I don't want this database to have more energy wastage. So they just made changes to it, and we had different blockchains. They wanted more transactions, they wanted more features, and that is how it began. So the first use case is like a nuclear bomb, but then people realized, wait, we can make nuclear energy also out of it, as I explained in the first example. Now, today we are at a stage when there are so many different types of blockchains which are specific to the different purposes. For example, India completely hates cryptocurrency, but at the same time, RBI is working with its own blockchain in which they are trying to do interbank settlements in real time. Because that has nothing to do with crypto, whatever RBI is doing. They are using only a few properties of blockchain, which ensures that trust and real time data sharing happens in such a way that authority need not be a middleman. So, uh, the use cases is where I want to focus now. In fact, the I have to use this quote. Using if just try to imagine if trust is something which is automated, then what will happen? Vitalik Buterin का एक quote है. It's very important. I'll just try to say it in my own words. He says that आज तक जो भी technology, to know all the technologies that have come until today, they have tried to remove the lowermost person from the job. You brought in assembly line, factory worker की नौकरी चली गई. You brought in tractors, landless laborers के नौकरी farm labor की नौकरी कम हो गई. You get in driverless vehicles, drivers की नौकरी चली जाएगी. That's okay. That's what technology does because then the people can work in something else and we can move towards a common efficiency. Blockchain is also here to make people jobless, but blockchain is here to make the CEOs and the board of management jobless. As he puts it in an example, everything that Uber does, Facebook does, YouTube does, they are nothing but aggregators. They are not generating value of their own in a direct way. They are connecting the supply and demand. But if that middleman itself goes out of the way, then Puri Uber company becomes jobless, and the blockchain open source blockchain platform is where people can do their own transactions. And this is actually what has happened with also 2016, a person named David Williams, a Uber driver. He was also a computer developer. He left his job, built an open source platform, and there is no middleman in it. There is no Uber. So we आप सबने वो WhatsApp मैसेज पढ़ा होगा. The सबसे बड़ी real estate company Airbnb है, but it doesn't have in its own real estate. The largest cab company is Uber. It doesn't have anything. Facebook में Mark Zuckerberg does not create any content. You are the people who create content on Facebook, but Mark Zuckerberg becomes rich. You are the people who are doing the value creation for advertisement. So this is the larger fundamental change which blockchain is supposed to bring. And we'll also see, for example, CIBIL scores. After the diamond one, we'll focus on the CIBIL score one. Why to have CIBIL score? Because CIBIL score dependency. Because most of our farmers don't even have a CIBIL score, and that is where trust again. And what I'm getting ahead. We'll tackle one use case by use case. So blood diamond industry, we all know. Blood diamond again to just to for those who don't know, the diamonds which are unethically sourced from the mining farms, from the mines of Kimberley and South Africa and other African countries, in which they use labor, terrorism, violence, and exploitation. And then it is sold in the Western countries. That exploitation is basically blood diamonds. Now there has been attempts to stop this. So first in 1998, Kimberley Protocol was set up among 83 countries. India के foreign minister भी वहाँ पे जाके sign करके आए थे that we will follow this protocol perfectly. Did anything happen to the blood diamond industry? Absolutely nothing, because people can just something exist on protocol doesn't mean it will be followed. Then people realized let us make everything digital. 2004 से लेके 2012-13 तक they tried to make the protocol a digital one by giving them modules. Did it change the industry? it did not, because you can do any data tampering in digital. 2014, a revolutionary lady came to the picture called Leanne Kemp, and her startup was called Ever Ledger. Ever because diamonds are for ever, Ledger because it's a fancy word for blockchain these days. Ever Ledger. And Ever Ledger, what they did was they started putting all the critical information from every point onto a blockchain. So once you scan the QR code at the end of every diamond, this is what you see. Now they are recording all the physical dimensions of the diamond in place also. They are recording who's doing the cutting, architecturing, laser cutting, crafting, grooming. All of these activities are recorded on the spot, so that if anyone is trying to put in some blood diamonds into the value chain, it doesn't work. And this is actually proving out to be pretty big right now. Along with this, one more thing happened. Even the stolen diamonds became difficult to resell, because all the people have to do is just take a physical image of the diamonds that someone is trying to sell me as a retailer, and immediately those physical details will be digitized and they will be matched with some data stored on the blockchain, and I will know that this diamond is already reported as stolen. So this has also happened in this case. Now, in supply chains especially, that's where blockchains really come to power. But rather than just reading you bullet point by bullet point, I'll try to make it more specific to examples. This is just important to understand because now we are moving towards Industry 4.0. Now, Industry 4.0 will have so many smart solutions, but look at the fundamental, look at the bottom. The foundation is same. Why? Because if you don't have trusted data, how will you have smart solutions built on fraud data? That is the whole logic of it. Now, within agriculture, I will cover the use cases for the next 5 minutes in detail. Traceability, for example, is where we started working with Sahyadri Farms, Mr. Vilas Shinde sir, Mr. Abasaheb Kale sir. And over there, along with traceability, we realize other side use cases also, which I'll explore. Traceability, we all know. Crop insurance is one of the largest aspects, unexplored one, in which blockchain has to come into picture. So Mr. Parker from Sensortics has these very cheap agriculture sensors. They record the weather data, not specific to it. They're used for agronomy. But what if we are keeping recording this data onto a blockchain, and suddenly we have a market open for private insurance for plot specifics, even parametric in insurance, which are event driven. Those events can be coded onto directly blockchain smart contracts. Smart contract is just a way where you can have transparency in execution of certain agreement. Now, for example, this is the project that we did for over 2.5 years. It ran between 2019 until until last month. So every QR code that we're printing on fruits and vegetables from Sahyadri Farms, once you scan the QR code, you can see the entire information regarding who's the farmer and in the entire journey. If there are any food certifications like Global Gap, Fair Trade, Rainforest Alliance, all of the certifications were visible. And you could also see the price margins because all the payments through the farmer producer company were happening digitally. There was integration done with the payment systems and the ERP system also, which ensures that the price breakup is possible. Right now, the live project that is happening is with SFSGIL in Sahyadri Farm Sustainable Grassroots Initiative as the primary client, in which are the blockchain partners. So the entire value, right from the farmer's journey, spinning, knitting, dyeing fabric, is the data is being collected and it is stored on blockchain in such a way that, so this is the RU brand facility in Nashik. You can visit it anytime by Mr. Abasaheb Kale is now heading it. And these are my developers uh, from Umertech. And we are printing QR codes on every t-shirt. So once you scan the t-shirt, the QR code present on the t-shirts, you can see who are the farmers. The price transparency aspect of it, that is in progress, where we are working towards, that you should be able to see if you are buying a t-shirt for 800 rupees, how much of that is going to the farmers. Over here, farmer specific traceability is not possible. It is only a batch wise traceability because the mix is getting mixed at every point. So we are able to show the group of farmers in this case. Now just go one step ahead. And this is a company, this is my ambition, in fact. And if anyone right now is actually keen to do it, this is what I would like to replicate. Hara is a company based out of Indonesia, and its founders have been my mentors in the past. Now, what Hara has done is Hara is doing data collection for all the small landholding farmers of Indonesia, and they're incentivizing people, volunteers to capture the data. Once you are captured, they're crowdsourcing the data. Now, the more authentic my data is, the more I will be rewarded in Hara tokens. And why will this actually work? Because who will actually pay for it? Now, look at the rightmost column, data buyers. The CT, now, this is a very important model for all of us to understand because this has a potential for bypassing the CIBIL scores. Now, banks need more and more markets, but banks don't have data for it. Hence, banks have a CIBIL score. In US, they have FICO scores and so on. If we can have some way of validating the income source of a farmer, then that income source itself could become income source as well as expenses. Then that information can itself become a way for banks to start lending into it, so that the informal economy does not have to face the unfair, extremely high interest rates. And Hara has actually done it. It's a successful thing. They have 200 developers. And as I said, the CTO of Amazon has visited them and done a wonderful documentary on them. This is what we need in India. In fact, we need it for anyone in the informal economy, like rack pickers, and that also I'll explain in a while. Now, because I wanted to focus more on the use cases in agriculture. In fact, there are so many hundreds of use cases that I can also cover in regardless of the domain. Uh, so Dr. Sunil and me were having a discussion regarding the genomic data for the different plant varieties, for example. This is a wonderful paper that you can read to understand how they are actually using blockchain to have decentralized data sharing and a trusted model for the genome aspect of it. You can take a screenshot of this. As I said, the use cases in agriculture are more towards efficiency when it comes to multiple strangers involving with each other. It has to do with trust. And then how do you sell the trust? What do I mean by selling the trust? You can use the trust as a branding power to attract market premium. You can use the trust to build credit scores for the farmers so that they can apply for even education loan, car loan, bike loan, and so on and others. You can use blockchain over here for integrating with your IoT sensors so that the climate data can be validated by the insurers and the reinsurer companies so that they can also jump into the picture. The most important use case is I'm working with this wonderful person called Josh Nor from a company called Reseed in US. So Josh, what he's doing, he was also a part of the Barack Obama Council. Josh is now collecting the carbon data by looking at the biodiversity and regenerative farming practices of the farmers in North America and South America. Josh is collecting that data in such a way that the farmers who are using the good practices, their efforts will be validated because the carbon tokens will be created and those carbon tokens will be sold. As a in a pilot itself, he was able to double the income directly. So a farmer was able to earn $20,000, I think, in South America, just by putting in the carbon data on blockchain and then selling that carbon data in the markets, in the voluntary markets, not the traditional markets. 20,000 additional dollars were generated. So that's another wonderful use case. It's all about understanding what this technology provides, and then it is the domain experts who should be actually coming forth and doing these use cases. Now we are also trying to do a small pilot for the rag pickers because our office is in CBD Belapur and just nearby we have the India's largest plastic recycling people. So the rag pickers don't have a smartphone. So we have just given them an ID card with a QR code on top of it. Now from every point in the value chain, like when the rag pickers goes to a scrap dealer, their QR code will be scanned, their quantity will be recorded, and then it will move on. So hopefully, it's just a pilot, it's very ambitious. Hopefully, we will be able to build digital profiles of the rag pickers, and so that their efforts could be quantified. That quantification of their efforts hopefully could result into maybe better employment opportunities or maybe their credit scores. But you can't do anything if something is not digitized, right? So I think I'm sorry about exceeding my time because I wanted to give some time for Q&A also. So I'll just we can go to Q&A now. Yeah.
No, if you have something more to explain, you can take another 5 minutes. There's no problem.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Please.
Do you want me to explain the no, what I'll do is I'll take it on the request basis, like any part that or a domain that people
That
want me
will
to.
take up, but still, if you have some more slides, you can explain. There's
Okay.
no.
Yeah,
Okay.
you work with the Chhattisgarh government would be very attractive to everybody.
Okay.
If it's here, right here. Yeah.
Yes, it's here. Currently, I'll just talk about my Chhattisgarh government case also. So, in terms of policy, the one and only state which has its own blockchain policy is Tamil Nadu. It is based upon the national strategy on blockchain, which was released by Niti Aayog in 2018. And just 2 months ago, we now have a national strategy on blockchain released by the Ministry of Electronics and IT. These are the three foundational documents based on which hopefully people will follow whatever Tamil Nadu is doing, in which every state is now having its blockchain policy with support for implementation and how to actually go ahead. For example, the way that I did it in Chhattisgarh was primarily because just by understanding that now I was it's kind of a long use case, so I'll try to make it shorter. The whole problem statement was there were so many people uh, affected by inefficiency in direct benefit transfers (DBT). That was happening because there were so many different schemes run by independent by different departments who were not sharing data with each other. So as a pilot, we felt why not just have a way of connecting some way. For example, labor department is going to the field collecting data. That data should be shared by the health department also. But while that sharing is happening, what if there is a breach in privacy? Because some data which is open to health department should not be open to, let's say, labor department. So that's a catch. And in order to do that, the first idea was, and I had an example in front of me. Frankly, I had the example of a country called Estonia. Estonia has done something which is so remarkable that Barack Obama has said that the most digitally advanced country in the world is Estonia. The Europe, US, Australia, UK, no one comes close to what Estonia has done. So before telling what I did, I'll just talk in briefly what they did. In 2012, Estonia connected all of their government departments with each other on a blockchain platform. Then a few years later, they connected the public sector and private sector on a blockchain platform so that your taxes became immediate. Your tax filing was became transparent and so on. 2 years ago, Estonia created a blockchain platform to share data with another country, with Finland. So right now, the thing is you can apply for a citizenship in Estonia without going to Estonia. Go on their website, become a e-citizen, collect your visa, e-visa from Delhi, and using that you can open up a business in Estonia. Again, you don't have to visit Estonia. I myself am a part of a blockchain based think tank which is based out of Estonia, but I never have to go to Estonia. All of these services and transparency is possible because they have put nearly everything on blockchain. Even the high officials, the ministers over there, when they are giving speeches, the speeches are getting recorded on the blockchain platform so that after 10 years, if something gets floated, some tampering is done, that you can't that can't actually be simply verified by going onto their website and checking. But I was in Chhattisgarh, and Chhattisgarh in 2017, even Bitcoin was not popular. So how do I actually go ahead and do it? I'll just try to focus on the main aspect of it, that how much networking, collaboration, and cross interdisciplinary support is needed over here. That is the crux of this, the only lesson from this. So what I did was, I started spamming people when I was working in Chhattisgarh. For example, Dr. Jane Thompson. At that time, she was writing very extensively in blockchain, although her company was in real estate and she was a multimillionaire back then. And you can see the message that I have sent her on 6th September 2017. I have an idea. But then I said, Jane, if people don't take me much seriously, in Chhattisgarh, she said, what if I come to Chhattisgarh and I give presentation from Australia? I said, Jane, I can't even pay for your cab expense. But Jane, immediately next week, she was in Chhattisgarh in Raipur. And then Jane gave presentations on my behalf, and she was just wonderful. And that gives a boost to the pilots and experiments. Similarly, when I needed more help in terms of how documentation should happen, technology and policy should happen, I reached out to Professor Edgar Whitley. Now, these are all screenshots from the personal messages. On 5th May 2017, I reached out to Professor Edgar Whitley. He had published a lot of research papers, and I read all of them regarding how technology, policy, and emerging markets should work together. And for the next entire year, he was guiding me so wonderfully that it helped me a lot to do the policy making and SOP drafting in a good way. So when I was invited to London, I just asked Professor Edgar, can we just meet for a coffee? Because one of the reasons that I'm here is because of the support that you had given me. He invited me over back to London for a workshop at the London School of Economics. So that was wonderful. Similarly, the first blockchain hackathon that happened, sponsored by a government, happened in Chhattisgarh, not in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, UP, Delhi. No, it happened in Chhattisgarh because for Joan Livell is the winner of the world's first blockchain hackathon, London blockchain hackathon, and she got quite a lot of cash prize over there. So I asked Joan if she can be an online jury for a blockchain hackathon that we are conducting. And then she said, not just a jury, I'll just come over. And she came to Chhattisgarh. We got more than 130 startups participating into the blockchain hackathon, and that was a wonderful experience. Similarly, for land records, I worked extensively because land records and blockchain have a much more solid and proven use case. Hernando D. Soto is the name of the person that I wanted to go ahead and just Google out. This again happened because I was spamming people, networking with them, trying to work together. And then that is how the whole picture actually came into the being. Again, I'm sorry, I'd like to focus on the Q&A because I know that the Q&A will be extensive. And this project, it was later on got funding by the World Bank also. But that's another government thing. I think people are more focusing on the supply chains part, so I'll focus over there. Yeah.
Excellent.
So we can, Mr. Gaurav, we can take a few questions.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So one question under this Q&A is, do you know any institution which is working on the carbon credits for the farmers?
Yes, Reseed, the name that I mentioned by Josh Noor. And we are partnering with them to become their Asia partner because they are focused on America.
Okay. Then there is another question by Dr. Narsi. And the question is, what resources are needed for implementation of the blockchain? For example, traceability in banana supply chain.
Okay.
And what are the levels of cost which is involved in this?
Okay, I'll give an example. So there is this wonderful startup called Honey Veda, supported by Pusa Krishi also, by Hardik Joshi, in which he has his own organic honey chain across Somnath, Uttarakhand, and two other places, and Rajasthan also. So basically, he's a big into the honey business. Now, if you want to give traceability over there, my personal experience I'll share. If traceability is your end goal, then it doesn't happen because you can't keep traceability, that you can't ask people on the shop floor on the field that do this extra activity because you want traceability. That's not how it works. The way that it should work is, and that is why some of the blockchain platforms are like, this is our software, start using it on your own and paying us a monthly fees, and that's a fail model. That is why Walmart, Nestle, IBM did not really launch as it should have been. The way that it should work is, you should digitize the value chain and provide value to the people who are working there. For example, people need to manage their inventory. Let people manage their inventory. So we what we've done in our startup is we have built an ERP software called AgroTrust Invento. It's a very cheaper version in which you can manage your inventory. Then let's say there's a person who needs to print labels for the SKU. All you have to do is use the SKU label printer, connect it with your inventory so that the inventory is getting auto adjusted based on the number of labels you're printing, and so on. Similarly, everything is again linked with your who's the farmer or the beekeeper in this sense. And if there is a digitization, then is it actually providing you some value? There should be a value to using the digital modules on a daily basis, and traceability should be a byproduct of this daily digitized operations. so that this project does not remain as a one-time fancy pilot thing. So that is my experience, is that you have to become specific to the domain. You have to understand what is this that this person needs, build that, and just use the data for that, for linking it with traceability. While doing this, if you're doing it on blockchain, to get back to the question, the costing ideally should be the same as it would be if you're just using it without blockchain. Because the only reason that the cost is high today, frankly, is because of there's a lack of developers. But that's only a temporary scenario, because now it's getting introduced into universities also. I myself wrote a syllabus for one of the universities in Maharashtra. So you'll see more and more people becoming as a norm. So costing wise, it should not affect much. You can have your own private blockchain on a cloud, or you can access a global blockchain. But over there, just ensure that you choose something which is a cheaper one. So that decision matters a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, in fact, we have a lot of
Yeah, sir. I'll try
acceptable.
to cover them. Yeah, I'll try to cover the questions. How can R&D institutions use digital ledger? Please go through the research paper that I had just shown. Whenever the genomic data, for example, gene banks that Dr. Sunil and me were discussing, wherever sensitive data needs to be shared across in a trusted manner, that is where R&D institutions can use it. How can we simplify interactions with stakeholders using blockchain? Now, blockchain is a backend. What you build on the like any application that you see, that's a front end. So today blockchain is waiting for the front end and back end to become seamless in such a way that operations should be like just using any other app, and we have almost achieved that stage. Okay, the QR codes, you should highlight this, like this many startups are addressing bits and pieces. Are there any programs which integrate production processes, quality certification, nutrition data, which are mostly asked? Yes. So now what we're trying to do with the QR codes is trying to make it more detailed and more meaningful, so that that data itself has more utility than just attracting customers. Because that is, as I said, that's where carbon credits, ESG compliances would also come into the place. How far smart contracts benefit small and marginal farmers, who are about 85%? Smart contracts are just if else statements. If this happens, then do this. Smart contracts come under blockchain technology. Now, how much blockchain would benefit would depend, again, as I said. In Indonesia, just look at the project that they have done. Hara token. Hara token is the name. A token is the name of the token, and Hara is the name of the company. So I'm just writing it over here, because over there all the small and holding farmers are existing, and we need someone like some partners from the Indian counterpart to match that. What resources, as you just said? Is there any disadvantages or side effects of using blockchain technique? Currently, the disadvantages that we mostly see are that because it's new and everything that is being coded happens on the first time, so it takes time to develop. But that is the case with any new technology. Thank you, Gurinder sir. How do you feel blockchain can address the problem of corruption without compromising data breach? Yes. Uh, by Mr. Sujay, you are asking that blockchain, how can it manage corruption, data breaches, and all? I'll give you an example. NHS was hacked, if you remember. NHS is National Health Service, UK. All their health data is centralized and digitized. Now they had an option to actually bring it on blockchain, but they said no, we don't want it without blockchain. We are good. Then it was hacked, and the people who hacked it asked for ransom in bitcoins. So when I was in London, I just made a small observation in the parliament. I said that if you had used blockchain technology to safeguard your digital records, you would not be paying ransom using the same technology in Bitcoin, because it's the same technology, completely different purposes. But that is definitely doable. And what will also happen is there is in fact, 2018 Ministry of Health and Family Welfare released a document, a GR, in which they are encouraging health records to go on board onto blockchain. Similarly, I think personally, most of the government data which is sensitive in nature should go on blockchain in any case, which is what most countries are doing. Why? Yeah, in India, you must have heard the incidents like the file is missing because the building caught fire, and that's why the files also caught fire. if that data was on blockchain, you can't have a building fire to erase that data, for example. Yeah. Can we trace contaminants in our food products through this technology? That is something which would need others. So there is one concept in blockchain technology called the oracle problem. What is the oracle problem? Oracle problem is when something from the physical world jumps into the digital world, that bridge can be compromised. So that bridge should be made of IoT sensors, third-party auditors, much more validations, or maybe calculations to ensure that output is not more than input, and so on. So detecting contaminants is a part of the bridge. Once that information is stored, it goes on blockchain. Now blockchain doesn't actually know whether the data it is coming is right or not. It has only one thing: it will not allow it to get changed or deleted. So sometimes it acts as a deterrent for people to not doing bad data entry, because the footsteps of their mistakes or their mischiefs will be recorded permanently over there.
We'll take the last question of Sujay Rakshit. Okay. And he's asking about this crop insurance. So he's asking the algorithm used for addressing the crop health needs validation before deploying in a large scale. Is it happening?
It's happening in Africa, in which I think it's IFO, International Federation, the FAO, of course, the food organization. They are doing a pilot over there for crop securitization and insurance using blockchain in Africa. So I just had one discussion with them, but I don't know the details, but they have gone pretty much ahead. The only sad part is that these kind of pilots and support and the different ecosystem coming together, sadly speaking, it doesn't happen over here, but the largest potential is in India itself. In fact, IRI, someone is Mr. Vinay Saigal has said that there's a Grow Indigo on a carbon credit enrolling 10,000 acres. Definitely that we can do carbon credits on blockchain over there, Mr. Vinay Saigal. And also I'll just put in my personal contact details also over here.
Okay. Mr. Gaurav, let us take one question from the Q&A also.
Yes. Please.
In the Dr. Bhagwan Registrar is asking, can multiple student study certificates of the students can be authenticated using this blockchain technology?
Dr. Bhagwan, I'm just because Dr. Bhagwan Chaudhary, I'm not sure if you're the same person, but you're A Bhagwan. So Dr. Bhagwan Chaudhary is a professor at ISB, Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. And the coincidence is such that the question that you're asking, he's actually implementing it in ISB school. The multiple certificates of students being authenticated on blockchain, he's already doing it since 2 years. So in fact, there's this wonderful use case that happened. There was a collector in Usmanabad. I don't remember the district. So there are so many documents that come up that they have stamps on it, but all of them can be forged. But what if there's just a QR code on it, which is how your even COVID certificate works. Without everything can be forged except the QR codes. So when it comes to educational certificates, government GRs, government orders, land records, everything should actually ideally go on blockchain, so that forgery, tampering becomes impossible. Yeah.
The certificates, if you see the DigiLock, if you put the certificates in the DigiLock, they are also authenticated certificates.
Yes, a DigiLocker. There was a discussion that was happening earlier within Niti Aayog that should DigiLocker also go on blockchain, because what can also happen is once it goes on blockchain, DigiLocker, then it can also take certificates of, let's say, from my college, I am Lucknow. Because if it's a decentralized platforms, then different parties can come and attach to it. Currently, DigiLocker is only limited in its scope for driving license, passport, Aadhaar, and so on. But then me as an entity have hundreds of certifications attached to it. For example, why would I give experience certificate to you when I can directly certify you on a blockchain platform that yes, this person has actually worked for me? And your digital avatar is actually created in such a manner that your resume is organic. In fact, it's not at all my idea. This is an idea by the Italy's oldest university, the University of Bologna. I'll just type it here. The dean of that university has done a beautiful TED talk by saying that if all of these different works, certificates, and experiences could be attached to the digital avatar of the person, then that resume will have 100 times more meaning than just sending a PDF to you. Yeah.
So I think that's all. We have responded to most of the questions. So thank you very much, Mr. Gaurav. And may I request Dr. Sunil Archak to propose a vote of thanks, please.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, speaker, today's speaker, Mr. Gaurav Raghu Somonshi, and everybody else who have participated. Gaurav, this is lunchtime for all the people in Delhi and other places. You know, everybody who is attending classes, universities, and offices, they run in the morning, and you see that in this platform right now, apart from other platforms where they are watching this one, and they are still 122 maintained. So people have a huge amount of interest, and I can tell you that only part of it is saturated today. People have more questions, more and more questions, and that is the success of a speaker, that you ensure that people have more questions in their minds at the end of the your talk, and you have done success. You have done it very, very wonderfully, and I'm sure everybody is pretty happy with this particular organizing this particular lecture and this platform. Thank you very much. In fact, I just want to tell all my colleagues that because he spent little more time in explaining the fundamentals of the of this particular subject, so that we are all aware of what he is going to speak later. He has not spent sufficient time on all the achievements that has been done. He can give at least 1 hour lecture on all the things that has been done with the government of Chhattisgarh and perhaps others also. They are really wonderful success stories, really wonderful success stories. And then we all can learn a lot from how bringing technology and domain experts and a perfect objective and a good policy support can make, let's say, such a change. Means people can really observe from very far, and from people from other countries have recognized that particular effort which has been mentioned in the beginning. Thank you very much, Gaurav, for taking out time and then explaining to all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I'm sure this is only the beginning. I'm sure this is only the beginning. Our students and our policy makers will be contacting you for various, let's say, collaborations in future. And that will be the success of this particular organizing this lecture. Thank you very much.
And yes, thank you, Gaurav, and Dr. Sunil for introducing Mr. Gaurav to us to have this lecture. And Mr. Gaurav, because we have given a lot of concepts and other things, our students are really very eager to know all these things. So we will find many other opportunities to have your views and to have your training programs for the students' benefit, because blockchain technology is the one which I personally feel that our students should be at least exposed. They should know whether they are going in any field, but they have to have this concept so that they can really think and can contribute to have the use of this blockchain technology in many fields, whether it's marketing, supply chain, or insurance, whatever they feel like.
Hello.
We have to prepare our young generations for this.
No disturbance. Yeah. Please tell me.
Yes.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Yes.
Mr.
Thank you,
Gaurav.
sir.
And
Thank you, Sunil, sir. Thank you,
Thank you.
Agrawal, sir.
And thanks everybody who had joined. All my vice
Enjoyed.
directors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.